What's going on, Port fans and Carlton fans and AFL fans in general? Welcome back to the channel. It's time to preview round 12. It's Port Adelaide versus Carlton in a blockbuster Thursday night game at the Adelaide Oval. This one has the potential to be one of the great games of the year, I think. It's going to be wet at the Adelaide Oval. It's going to be a high-pressure situation. A lot of injuries for both clubs at the moment, and they're coming into this one with a lot of pressure on both sides, really. Port Adelaide, can they stand up in the big game once again? Carlton, looking to find their form again, obviously beating Gold Coast last week by 29 points. And Port Adelaide got the job done over North Melbourne by 59 points. So it's hard to tell where these two teams stand. And I think there's a lot of people out there at the moment with a reserve judgment on both of these sides on whether or not they will be a key pillar come finals at the end of the year. But this one, round 12, it sets up to be an absolute thriller. So I'm looking forward to it. So let's get straight into it and preview round 12. This game has a lot riding on it. Potential for both sides to, in what is a massive cluster on the ladder right now. Pretty much from where Essendon sit in second all the way down to ninth. It's separated by less than 2 games. It's going to be, I think this one in particular with the buys is a make or break for both sides. And obviously being a Port Adelaide fan and previewing sort of a Port Adelaide mindset, I think this one has a little bit more riding on it for Port. And this is another test at home against a side who has been up and down this year, Carlton. They've gotten the wins they should have. They haven't been convincing in no way, shape or form, but they've had a lot of injuries, and this is what scares me about Carlton a little bit. They've had a couple of players start to come back. They've got some great run from halfback. They are a very big marking side, and they are a team that likes to penetrate inside 50. And they are very much a side as well that revolves around their star players. But their second tier, that 8 to 16 player bracket in their best 22, best 23, just stand up in moments, and they know how to... they know how to push their side along. They are a galvanising group, Carlton, and that's something I respect about them, is they know how to bounce back. They know how to... Well, I think they never really used to until the last couple of years. They can stick it to the doubters. Their turnaround last year was sensational, and now we come into this one where there's still a lot of doubters out there, and obviously I haven't been convincing, but it's only round 11, and you really start to find your feet around this time of the year. They timed their run perfectly last year and almost made a grand final. Same can't be said about Port. Carlton was a side that broke the streak last year, couldn't get 14 on the trot for Port, and the season derailed pretty much after that and going out in straight sets. So this year you come into it, Carlton are sitting in 8th, Port Adelaide are 3rd, good percentages for both sides, but it's a time where you go, well, Port Adelaide are 3rd, but the last 3 games they convincingly bet North, unconvincingly won against Hawthorn. They played one of the best halves of footy against Geelong, and then they nearly lost the game completely. So they have found a ticker at the moment, Port, and I think they're starting to build, which is my personal opinion. But Carlton are the same. I think, they bet Gold Coast on the weekend, who struggled to travel away. Other than that, they lost to Sydney the week before. They only bet Melbourne by a goal a week before that. The balance of these two sides is very interesting. So the one thing I worry about Carlton the most is their key forwards, Mackay and Curnow. You also got to think they have some crafty forwards down there as well. And I think with the matchups and how the weather's going to be, I think their smalls are going to be a little bit more dangerous than their talls. But nonetheless, contested footy is a massive thing, and Carlton a very good contested side. They've got the likes of Walsh in there. Obviously, Cripps is in the middle too. They don't have Chera at the moment, but they have some players that can roll through there too. And their halfbackers, you look at the likes of Newman, Kennedy. They have great players, and McGovern as well has been a shining light too. And you can keep naming players. They stand up. Blake Akers is another. They have role players, and they really, really do stand up. And this is why, for me, in a big game like this for Port, we have to have that mindset of, we can't have anything short of, we have to win this game. And I'm not saying it's a do or die win, otherwise we won't play finals. I think more going into the bye, having that confidence, sitting 9-3 at a bye after beating Carlton at home, have that mentality of, we don't lose at home. We shouldn't have lost to Melbourne at home earlier in the year. We obviously lost the away showdown, but you don't lose at home. And that is something that I think has to be driven into this side. And against Carlton, they're a big side in terms of big presence, big crowd. They'll have a lot of attendances on Thursday. They know they're a little bit arrogant in a good way. Like, they know how to, if they get in your face, they're going to stand up and walk the walk as well. And I think for Port's sake, it's something that we have to adopt into our game. What worries me most about this is the fact that it's how we're going to structure up. You look at the couple of concerns, and I'm sitting here straight away. Rosie, is he going to play? Rolled ankle, you deal with more pain, and Ken has stated. Watching his press conference, I thought Ken was a little bit more adopting of the fact that I think Rosie's going to play. And I think in a big game, knowing you've got to bye the next week, you can almost get away with that compared to a soft tissue injury. Whereas Willie Rioli won't be playing this week. That's already been given, which means you've got to bring in a small forward. And does that mean you have Rosie down there? Do you have one less tool? Dixon's obviously going to come back in. I think you're playing Dixon in the wet rather than, say, a Finlayson, say a Georgiades. You've got to decide on the two. Marshall kicking 5 goals keeps his spot. It is. I speak like it's going to be a wet weather game. Obviously, the weather in Adelaide is just so unpredictable when it gets to whether or not it's going to rain. We saw the Hawthorn game a couple of weeks ago, and I thought our structure was a little bit, too tall. Having the Zerk Thatcher and Zerk Thatcher came on for Ollie Wines, and it was Radagalia, Alia, Zerk Thatcher, Dixon, Finlayson, Marshall, Georgiades in the wet. I think it's a bit too tall. In Carlton's defence, they're going to have Wiedering as their main guy, and I think we do match up a little bit too well when it comes to the back line. But yeah, I think in the wet, I wouldn't be going too tall. I think we play too tall anyway. You can get away with it against sides like North Melbourne and stuff like that, but Dixon didn't play last week, and look how freely we looked. And I'm not saying Dixon not playing should be something that we adopt, because I think he's still our most important and most influential forward when it comes to creating a contest. But when it comes to, structure-wise, I think that one less tool works. And, if you look at the scoring over the last couple of weeks, I'm sitting here and going, I think Finlayson drops out. And, he hasn't really done a massive amount since coming back into the side, really. So I think there's that opportunity. Our ruck situation as well, wouldn't be playing Soldo. I think Sweet keeps the role again. I think that again as well with De Koning in the ruck, Sweet against De Koning, and then Dixon can help out. I think that helps too. And I think if we can put the pressure on early, a good start, high pressure, keeping it inside our forward 50. We're very good in terms of getting it in there. Retention rate was really good on the weekend. I think we're going over 50% in our forward 50. If we can do something similar along those numbers, I think it will work a lot better. Carlton are a very good transition side, so we've got to be very wary of that. I did notice as well that we're number one for marks inside 50, which was very, very interesting considering we just bomb up 25,000 metres in the air and hope it lands in someone's lap. So yeah, I think those sort of stats on a night where it's crucial. Like, this game's crucial, and I've been spitballing for the last 8 and a bit minutes now. All of this adds up to whether or not we want to win the big games. This is where I see Port Adelaide's maturity. Been questioning the big games. The showdown, the Melbourne loss. Then you go to Collingwood as well. But then we beat Geelong in Geelong. Where do we stand at the moment? This is where I think if you sit here as a Port fan and we win this game, with Rioli out, potentially to have Rosie out, we've been struggling a little bit, haven't found 100%. If we come out of this game with 4 points, going 9-3 into the bye, I think we establish ourselves as a threat. And I'm not saying we're going to win the flag, no way. But I'm saying we sit here and go, I think a lot of confidence comes out of winning this game Thursday night at home in front of the country. You're playing Carlton, who are one of the big clubs, big four, big clubs, doing well. I don't see why that wouldn't be anything less than making us a threat for this year. And that gives Port fans confidence. Going to the bye and we're thinking, all right, come outside of the bye, we've got the likes of GWS. I think we play Brisbane at home. And then we go into a team like St Kilda. you can tick boxes as you go along. The fixture after the bye is genuinely very difficult for Port in terms of matchups, and it's do or die. This is where we stand up and say we are a big club. We deserve to play in the big matches, and we can win the big matches. This is what I want from us this week, and I hope and I pray that we do it. Because if we come out of this losing by 2 or 3 goals and Carlton go out of Adelaide Oval, I think a lot of people are going to be pissed off, and I'll be one of them. Just quickly on selection, obviously Rioli comes out. The structure will have to change a little bit. I think Finlayson will come out as well. Dixon comes in. Lockie Jones probably goes sub again. I think I'd be playing Narkle. I think he'd be a nice addition to the side. We can play Evans. Like, we got opportunities to replace, and I think Narkle will add a bit of sparkle to that forward line and can rotate through the midfield a little bit, especially if we want to rest Rosie forward. And my tip for this one, I'm tipping Port by 15. I do have confidence we get the job done. So I'm hoping and praying that is the case at the Adelaide Oval, and I'm very much looking forward to it. It's pretty much a sellout as well, so big crowd, big opportunity. There's a lot at stake. Thank you so much for watching, Port fans, Carlton fans, and everyone else watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new for plenty more Port Adelaide and content to come your way. Again, really appreciate everyone's support. Looking forward to seeing you Thursday night. So thank you so much for watching. Once again, my name's Anthony, and as always, can't pay.